bit like the risk of failure. I like an adventure. What's the phrase? An adventure without risk is no adventure at all. Like you have to have the kind of the risk of it absolutely going totally wrong.
Yeah.
Or that's a holiday, which is fine.
Hello, hello.
Hey everyone, we are back with another Gotta Run podcast.
All right.
We just finished the Lost Treasure Trail race.
That's right. We had that on the weekend, and the rain was in the forecast, like a lot of rain.
But we paid to Mother Nature to say, come back another day.
That's right. It stopped raining literally an hour before the race started, and Mansfield has so much sand, there was no mud.
No.
I didn't see any mud on anyone. And it did rain hard the night before, so
Mansfield is the place to be, rain or shine.
Yes, absolutely. And it was actually comfortable running weather.
Yep.
Which is great. And our 25Kers got to do 3 laps, which I know was challenging.
Yes.
However, like we explained to them, would you rather be out on a 25K loop all by yourself for most of the day, or
would you rather run into other runners in the 5 and 10K?
And come in and out of the start line where the music and the party is.
Where your friends and family are waiting.
Yeah, so I think they preferred the latter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but next up is Fiddle 50. In a few short days, we're looking forward to that one. Got a few people lined up to do the long distance, and then we got a nice crew out for the Town Fitness 10K.
Can't wait. Exciting times coming up. And who's on the podcast today?
Well, today we have Robbie Britton from Britain, currently living in Italy. Robbie recently broke the 41-year-old British record for the 24-hour with 277 kilometers. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into that. He also has run across a few countries, including the Jordan Trail, which is 650K, going from north to south, in a record with his friend Dan Lawson in 2019. 9 days, 10 hours. And actually the record was then broken in 2020, but we'll get into that. He is a coach. He helped pace American Hayden Hawks to a second place finish at Western States in 2022.
Last year, wow.
Yeah. And he's a coach for Centurion Running in the UK. And he's an author. He wrote the book 1001 Running Tips, The Essential Runner's Guide. So we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, he's done a lot in his short running career.
Well, let's get into it.
Here's Robbie coming up.
Hey, Robbie. Welcome to the podcast, and big congrats on your 24-hour British new record.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was really pleased with that. It took quite a few years to get to that point, and very happy to have run a very long way in a day.
Well, the news just reached Canada because this happened in February, right? We just got the news, so you still must be buzzing.
Yeah, no, I better have a word with Dave Proctor. He's my Canadian kind of, like, he's my man in Canada. He should have let you guys know. Oh, what's that about, Dave? Eh?
Yeah, what's up, Dave? Come on now.
Now, this record was 41 years ago, right? The one that you just broke. And it took someone who wasn't even born yet to decide to become a runner, train, and beat this record.
Yeah. No, I spoke to David when David Dowdall set that record back in 81, 82. It was a world record back then. And like after I broke it, I called him up. He's in a nursing home not far from the track he set the record in. And I had a good a chat to him and felt a bit. I thought someone might have told him that the news didn't reach Dave until after I called him. And I was like, now it feels like I'm boasting. I just wanted to say thanks for setting a great mark. And then it turns out I was calling out to be like, I got your record.
So I assume he was happy for you in some respects.
Yeah, he said, I thought it would go a long time. I didn't think it'd last this long. And then after about 5 minutes, he said his dinner was ready, so he had to go. So,
oh my! How old is he now?
He's well into his 70s, I think. I could check that. Yeah, he's a bit older. But he's still going. Just still concerned with dinner, which is a very key ultra running trait. Yes. But he said when he ran it, obviously he had less. Like the shoe tech has definitely helped in the last few years, and our nutrition science and training science. Like he was a better qualitative runner than I, and he had I still think that. Like I think I have to go further to outweigh the balance of the extra science we have on our side. So I'm going to work on that. But I think like Dave was still probably. If I'm being generous to myself, we're still level pegging, I reckon. It's only 3K further.
That's true.
Over the years, there must have been other people trying to break this record. What do you think it took so long?
I think a big part of 24-hour races is people underestimating how hard it is. And I've seen a lot of people. I mean, trying to break that record in the first 6, the first 12, the first 18 hours of a race is achievable. Like people look at it and go, I can run that pace. And it's that last 6 often, or the last 10 hours that really catch people out. And like a lot of people do the maths on it and they go, it's only 8-minute miles. 8:11 a mile, I can do that. Yeah, that's just jogging. And I think, like people have tried, but we just haven't quite got as close. I've tried before. Took me 3 cracks in 12 months.
Just to put into context, in kilometers, basically you're running about a 5 and change per K, right? Which is about a 3:30 marathon. And then you add another 20 and a half hours on top of that. Is that basically it?
Yeah, just add a bit of eating and drinking in.
Well, records are made to be broken. I hope your record lasts a long time, but I have a rule about records being broken is that no one should touch it until at least 6 months, right? You don't want your record to be broken next month.
This is one of the things I wasn't expecting is someone tried to break it in Australia, and a British runner based in Australia, he was trying to qualify for our 24-hour team, which is fine. That's good. And then he told our team manager, he didn't tell me this. He said, "I'm going to go for Robbie's record." I was like, brilliant, because I think he's done long stuff before. And I would look at this and I'd be like, they're going to slow down, but I was extra worried. I was like, oh, that's my record. No, I was worried beforehand that someone might break it before me, but that was wasn't too bad. And then now I'm worried that someone might take it. But so. If you look at the list of current runners, the second in our British, the second strongest, the third strongest, and the 5th or 6th strongest, I coach. So 3 of the other 5 guys, it's on me. If one of those guys breaks it, or even the other 2 that I don't coach, the coach of the other 2 I used to coach as well. So it's all we're all kind of linked in. And if one of those guys breaks it, then I'm doing a good job, and it's my own fault. Yeah. Or it's one of my teammates, and I'm happy that my teammate is so. If I have my best day and they have their best day and it's better, well, then I've got to live with that. And if it happens in the World Champs in December, we'll darn sure I'll make sure that means we get a team gold.
Yes.
So yeah, you're going to have to go a long way to do better than me, but I'm there to help you do it.
Right.
It's the act I'm trying to take.
Well, it's a win-win, because if someone breaks your record and you're coaching them, you put that on your resume.
Yeah. You broke it again. You broke it again.
I'm going to break it again. I'm quite confident that in the future I can go further anyway. So yeah, it's not going to last a long time, because either one of our current stock or myself will break it again.
Nice. Well, that would explain why you wanted to take on the Jordan Trail with Indiana Jones's connection to Petra.
I don't like to use the word there's a saying from a 1930s expedition book. It's this guy called Martin Lindsay. They're going off to Greenland as part of Gino Watkins's expeditions, and he says he's on the boat on the way over, and they're on this boat, and he says to his mate's like, "Oh, this is amazing." He says, "No, one must not exhaust one's superlatives too early in an expedition." And Jordan has been the truest sign of that. I was there with my mate Dan Lawson. We had Dave McFarlane and James Vincent as our film crew. And the first couple of days, they're like, "Wow, this is amazing." And I had to keep saying, "Tranquilo, wait," because I know what's coming. We know what's coming. And it's there were some breathtaking moments in the first half, the first slot canyon we got into, and it was wow. And the views and the people were fantastic. But then you get to Petra and you're just what? How? It just takes your breath away. And like the word, like amazing, like a word is often used and thrown around. And you say, are you genuinely amazed by what you've just seen? And I was like, it was just absolutely breathtaking. And then we got to Wadi Rum, and between that was this other like slot canyon that we spent like 30k in, which I was kind of like, and it went like hundreds of meters up, and you're in this kind of 5-6 meter wide thing, and Dan's just like wandering off, like he's loving it. I'm constantly worried about flash floods, looking for the nearest ledge in case. And it's just like it was just us. It was like Petra was busy. We went through there at the early hours of the morning, so it still wasn't quiet. But I think it was the Wadi Al Alamein or something like that, and it was just us there for the whole day.
Wow.
Absolutely kind of breathtaking environment. So yeah, like the adventure, the archaeology, the geography, it was all there in one. And I was getting to run around it with a friend while someone took pictures of me and made a video, which is like all my favorite things.
It must have been frustrating to constantly get lost, not knowing where the trail is, because you're losing so much time finding this thing. Explain that to us, please.
Well, so like the Jordan Trail is a reasonably new concept. Like it's been around a few years, but it wasn't. So like for me, a trail is often like a path that's been trodden for hundreds of years, or like in the UK, a trail's just quite established. So when you're on it, and you know you're on it, and you're not constantly thinking, am I on it? Whereas the Jordan Trail felt more like a GPX line or track down the length of the country that kind of connected some trails, but at other times it was just like, well, yeah, it's that way. And like people had built buildings, or there wasn't a natural kind of flow to the there was no single track. It was just like scree, or just kind of like you couldn't spot the trails. Like one of the nights we got like really caught out by the terrain, and like it was dropping down into one of the big wadis, and you just couldn't find. There wasn't a trail. It was just kind of like a set scree. And but if you took the wrong bend, and there was some pretty sheer drops. They do some good sheer drops out there. So yeah, it was real kind of difficult to. I don't know, like on a trail you can switch off and follow it, especially going downhill, and then you have to put your brain into gear when there's a junction. This was constantly making sure you were on the line, and there was like 1 or 2 bits where you were like, we got to a road at one point, and me and Dan we are road runners, kind of that's what we're best at. And that did feel. I don't think you've ever seen 2 ultra runners so happy to see a bit of road. We ran 10 kilometers in that hour, did we? Oh, brilliant! Let's do another one. Oh, no, another 4 kilometer hour. Okay.
Now, one of the highlights of that story was meeting the dog. At what point did you meet the dog, and how many kilometers did she run with you?
Petra, the dog.
Yeah, we met Petra in Petra. There was quite a few stray dogs in Petra, like with the tourists feeding them. And like at first, it was quite funny. This dog followed us for a bit, and then got scared off. And then Petra, the dog that followed us, ended up following us for about 50k that day. Kept trying to get her to go back, but by the end of the day, we realised we weren't somewhere where we could leave her, because she relied on that tourist trade to get her food. If we left her there, we were in the middle of nowhere. I think we were camping out that night. We were wild camping. So we wild camped with Petra next to the tent. She just slept next to the tent. And the next day she did another like 50, 60k.
Well, she looked pretty happy when you guys were finished, and you ended up finding her a new family to live with, which is really nice too.
Yeah. There were refugees living on the beach. And they ended up kind of asking if they could keep her, and then they took us into their little like a tent home, and then they were like, "Oh, we'll give you some cups of tea in return." I'm like, "No, if you want to look after the dog," but like the kid, it was a man and a child, and the child kind of like was really taken by the dog, and yeah, they just end up saying, "Oh, yeah, can we keep him?" We're like, "Yeah," and it was like a gift, so they were like, "Well, we've got to give you some tea." So it was kind of really surreal moment where we were. Yeah, they didn't have much, but they were sharing what they got, and it's like that's the kind of people you want.
Yeah,
the dog, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
It wasn't a formal adoption process or anything, but
no,
it was all right.
But you felt.
Otherwise, we would have taken her back. We were going to just take her back to Petra in the end, but she felt like she'd found she was on the beach. So I mean, we want to be on the beach, right?
I think she's going to have a great life on the beach. Absolutely,
yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
I know. I'm constantly looking for new ones. I like the idea of pushing into new limits, and like some of the adventures are like to be done with friends, and you can fight if you find a soft enough record. You can get a record and have a
soft enough.
You don't want it too soft. You don't want it to be a proper holiday. It's got to be have some pain and misery in there. Like the videos, I suppose. But like the risk of failure. I like an adventure. What's the phrase? An adventure without risk is no adventure at all. Like you have to have the risk of it absolutely going totally wrong.
Yeah.
Or that's a holiday, which is fine.
All right. Well, let's move on to your book, which you released in 2021. It's called 1001 Running Tips.
Yes.
So I had to laugh. I looked it up on Amazon. Is that where you want people to go, by the way, to
You can go to Amazon or Vertebrate Publishing. It's a publisher. The Vertebrate Publishing have got some awesome mountaineering books and outdoor stuff. So if you're into that stuff, like they make some of my favorite mountaineering books, like Joe Tasker. They publish it now. Joe Tasker's Savage Arena and some like One Day as a Tiger by John Port, which is another like awesome book on there. So if you're into your outdoors, check out Vertebrate Publishing. But buy it for whatever you want, I suppose. If you want to send Jeff into space, then go for it.
Now, if you'll bear with me for a minute, because the part that I found on the Amazon description really made me laugh. And if our listeners haven't realized yet that you do have a great sense of humor, this will definitely give them a hint. So just bear with me, because I want to read a little excerpt. All right. So, how to tell the type of runner that you're looking at. Trail runner. Running vest, fancy cap, sometimes worn backwards, funky shades. Expect bright colors and compression socks. Fell runner. Now, this is good information for North Americans because we're not as familiar with the fell and the hill running phenomena that's very popular over there. So, fell runner. Vest and shorts handed down to them, usually from a parent. Shoes with 1 or 2 holes. Shirk at a race entry over $5, which I converted, by the way, even if it includes a free pie. Hill running is what they call fell running in Scotland and Ireland. How to spot a hill runner? They look like a fell runner with a Scottish or Irish accent. Mountain runner. They look like a tracker road runner with slightly more impressive calves. And sky runner. This is my favorite. Scraped knees from falling on a pile of rocks, carbon hiking poles, and a tiny waist pack for their thin jacket to reach the summit. So if that's not a clue as to why you need to buy this book, I don't know what is.
And there's 1,001 of these.
1,001 of these. So obviously, this is a book for every type of runner, whether road or trail or not. So I'd like to know, how and when this came up that you wanted to write a book.
It's been a dream of mine since like a small child. Like my nan, my grandmother she gave us a £5 voucher for books every month, and I would like take it into the WH Smith's book, and I would like spend hours in there like checking the start of each book, and kind of if I could get 2 for a £5, I'd be like, but there's 2 of them, and I would like stress for hours, and then I'd go and sit in a corner and read my book. Like when I wasn't running around, I was either hyperactive or reading a book, and that hasn't really changed in the last 36 years. And it's because of a lot of the effort my nan put into getting me to read, and my mum, like it's just for my nan especially, she loves to read as well. We still kind of chat about different books we're both reading, and like it meant a huge amount to me for her to know I'd written a book. Like it fills me. Yeah, it's one of my proudest moments because she's kind of put all that effort into us as a family. I suppose lots of grandmothers do. They don't just, but like it stems from the effort my mum and my nan put into me like, as a child, kind of like with the books and with my reading, and they're both huge like influences, like I don't know, just inspirations for me. And to be able to turn around and I sent the first copy to my nan. My mum was like, "What? Like, what's?" I said, "Yeah, but she got us the book tokens, mum. Like, she's a bit older. Don't mean she listens to podcasts. Like, she's like in her 80s. Like, I had to write it quick. She never know how long she's going to last. I reckon. But like, I've spoken to her about that. It's fine. It was just, I just loved it. And if you want to get a message across, the best way to do it is with humor. I think it goes for anything. If you're just lecturing about a lifestyle or kind of like a protest, if you can add some humor into it, you're more likely to get that message across, so people are more receptive to it. So I took the same kind of attitude to to the advice I put in the book. So like there is, even when it's being serious, and like we cover everything from your first 5K up to doing like multi-day racing and the UTMB and like all kinds of stuff in there. And in between there's this kind of about gear, there's about a section on the menstrual cycle, which I got some help from and like nutrition. I got like a postgraduate, like I did a 2-year postgraduate diploma in sports nutrition, so like I've got a decent knowledge around that. And I've got a great network of people that help me with different sections. So it's full of, like I would say this right because I wrote it, but it's got some really great advice in it. It is worth but you can also sit it next to your toilet and just flick through a section whilst you're getting rid of it's kind of got that, you can enjoy it, you can pick it up, but you haven't got to sit down and read the whole thing. But right. I promise, don't smile at least a few times on the way through, then English isn't. You're not reading English. You're not reading it clearly. It's good. It's got some decent humor in there.
Well, we've ordered our copy, so we'll get back to you with our notes on some other things that we've found humor in. But I do know that it is full of lots of good information too, because the reviews on Amazon are excellent. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
It is. I had to pay those people good money to write those.
Well, thank you so much, Robbie. It's really been a pleasure to get to know you, and we wish your athlete luck next week.
You wish your team luck.
And your team.
We'll be watching.
I hope everyone has a good race. I hope there's some good carnage, but I hope there's some people, as someone who's had a breakout performance in a World Champs, I hope there's some people who've trained well, who've really kind of like dedicated themselves to the event, and they kind of do better than they expect. That's what you want out of these events. No one wants the favorites to win.
No, exactly. And when you want to come to Canada, look us up.
Yes,
we'll help you out.
Definitely. I'll have to find a Canadian race that I could, more than one that I can name. That and the Toronto Waterfront Marathon. That's the only two I think I can remember.
Well, you got them both right.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.
All right. Well, that was Robbie Britton.
From Britain.
Never gets old. That was a lot to digest.
We could have chatted with him for longer, but let's break it down. His video, the Lost Dogs and Englishmen, very inspiring.
Yes, definitely take a peek at that.
It's on his website under the Adventures tab. You cannot get it on YouTube. It's 30 minutes and it's well documented. Yeah, well done video.
Yeah, I'd love to have a film crew following one of our adventures.
And just see me fall all the time. Actually, in that video, he does fall quite a bit.
Does he?
So it's very funny.
And I also think he sounds like a pretty amazing coach. I love the advice he gave you.
Sure. I'll take it.
Yeah, well, you'll take it, but you better do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try it. It'll probably be harder than I think it is.
Oh, it sounds hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But useful, for sure.
Yes. And of course, he is the new British record holder in a 24-hour with running over 277 kilometers continuously.
Unbelievable.
In a 1K-ish loop, which is mentally tough to do.
Definitely. And I think he'll hold that record for a while.
Well,
it took this long.
It took 41 years for him to beat it.
And I'm sure many people tried.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, many people have tried. So it's not easy to take. All right. Until next time.
Cheers.